Britain's Deputy Prime Minister tells UK citizens to stock up on candles and batteries for grid down situation. Citizens should have candles, battery-powered radios in case of global instability or cyber attack, or I guess a solar storm CME, says UK Deputy Prime Minister. Security threats are more numerous, more complex and evolving, and people accustomed to a digital world should be prepared to survive in an analog world, including by building personal resilience hotspots, the UK said. The UK government has created a resilience directorate and will soon launch a resilience website to inform the public how they can improve their chances of surviving global events, a direct attack on digital devices that run our world, or even the power grid that authorizes them, warning that one of these things could happen tomorrow. The UK Government Minister for Resilience and Deputy Prime Minister Oliver Dowden warned that because society has become so massively digitized, it could be less resilient from previous generations. While the exact advice has not yet been published, Dowden made a series of remarks visiting Porton Down, the government's experimental warfare research laboratory, giving some indication of the direction of his thinking, making it clear that he believes a situation where the digital infrastructure world ceased to function, leaving many without power or access to information, the minister said. He said the world has changed beyond recognition and our society is highly dependent on our digital infrastructure. The government needs to ensure we are resilient in this digital age by ensuring our structures take this into account, including looking at those analog capabilities that make sense to retain, end quote. Dowden talked about a radio with batteries, candles, and a flashlight as examples of being items of resilience that don't depend on an internet connection or power during a crisis. He said, reports the Times, it used to be that everyone could have access to a battery-operated FM radio. How many people actually have this kind of communication device that does not depend on digital and electricity? So what would most of us do? If it was a public health emergency, the relevant officials would be on the radio and we should be able to communicate with people. We have to think about whether we have these durable communication capabilities, he said. Dowden was quoted as stressing that these discussions were not about taking responsibility away from government crisis management, but rather about creating a whole of society approach. The Times reported that Dowden was asking how to make the country more resilient in a major recession. The population will temporarily return to a similar time where modern technology is disabled by power outages caused by cyber attacks, terrorist attacks, floods, or other climate-related emergencies. In a separate parliamentary statement on work to establish the Resilience Directorate on Monday, Dowden also cited foreign wars as a source of instability at home in the UK, noting in particular how Russia's invasion of Ukraine caused significant negative impacts on its energy market in the United Kingdom. He told Parliament that the risks we face are more numerous, more complex, and evolving faster than ever. Terrorism that takes away power or data is not a theoretical threat either. As long ago reported by Breitbart News, far-left anarchist activists have been attacking power and internet cables on the continent for years, with tens of thousands of homes affected each time in nations such as France, Germany, Spain, and Italy, in the other few published attacks against the foundations of the modern world. The resilience moves come amid criticism in the UK that the UK was ill-prepared for the coronavirus pandemic, a realization that also appeared to reveal that the country was not really prepared for anything. Indeed, Dowden's rhetoric about resilience came despite years, even decades, of government policy making the UK less resilient, despite rhetorical questions about whether families still have an FM radio in case of an emergency. It's still to be the UK's government policy to switch off FM radio broadcasting network in the coming years as part of the digital switchover policy. However, the plans proved unpopular and have already been postponed several times. It's also government policy to shut down the traditional landline, quote unquote, based telephone network, deeming it obsolete. However, the telephone network is useful in terms of resilience, since the exchanges have their own independent power system in the event of a power outage, and the phones still work during power outages. Indeed, the UK's national electricity network even has a dedicated telephone number for reporting power outages, underscoring the degree of confidence they have that copper wire telephones work independently of the mains. The UK government has already banned the burning of coal at home for heat and certain types of wood, both of which are highly sustainable ways of heating and cooking and do not depend on the digital or national electricity grid. While talking about resilience in the face of potential cyber attacks on electricity infrastructure, the UK government is also working to eliminate all forms of non-electricity based home heating in the future, with talks of banning even domestic boilers that burn natural gas, in a shift towards electric heat pumps. Perhaps the most egregious anti-energy security move by the UK government was in 2017 crude gas storage facility shutdown, which in one fell swoop removed 70% of the country's energy storage capacity. This was little noticed apart from the resilience mistakes at the time, but the utility of having energy in stock, if only as a vehicle for spikes in the global energy market, became painfully clear in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Other decisions that undermine the UK's preparedness for a wide variety of situations go back much further. Almost all developed nations worldwide have civil defense facilities, for example, usually government-sponsored agencies staffed primarily by volunteers who provide training and a backup pool of emergency responders in the event of natural and man-made disasters. The UK civil defense was closed in 1968 and never replaced, something that was felt during the coronavirus crisis, but so far there has been no serious talk of reversing this policy. This is by Breitbart, and I've translated for you from a Greek article. I mean, every country should have volunteer and emergency responders in events of natural man-made disasters. I don't understand why UK closed it down in 1968 and never replaced it. And obviously, a lot of what the UK is thinking about concerning resilience defense goes for every country, especially in the West. So please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.